Welcome to this episode of WildlightTV. This is a bit of a different one in that we're going to be preparing for a short trip, and I thought it might be nice to share what gear's in my bag. I'm going to be heading down to the South Island of New Zealand. It's basically a work trip, but I'm going to have a few days to pursue some photography. And there's some specific bird images and specific landscapes I'm wanting to photograph. So we need to cover a range of options while at the same time keeping the gear pretty compact and light.
Shall we begin? Let's begin now.
First thing that goes with always is my little Fuji X100S that travels with me around my neck or in my pocket as we travel through the airports. It has 2 spare batteries with it, so that's the first bit of gear that has to go with. I'm working on a project with this camera that's only using that camera, so it needs to be with me. Now, getting to the bag. The bag I use is this Guru Gear bag. I've had it for quite a few years. Guru Gear has since purchased Tamrac, so they branded Tamrac now, but they're top quality bags and I found it really great. So on the one side I have Nikon D810. This will be my main body for landscape work. 36 megapixels, full frame sensor, beautiful dynamic range and detail. I'm not taking the battery grip with. I normally shoot with a battery grip with a big battery in it, but because my other body is a D500, it means I will only be using one battery, so I only need to take one charger with. So that's the first body. My second body that I will use for bird photography is the Nikon D500. Takes exactly the same battery as the D810, so one charger does both. Both cameras have optic straps on them. I've used these for over 25 years and they're brilliant. There's no reason to change. Lenses. For the D500, the 300 f4 PF lens. Fantastic, as you've seen from my other videos. I'm a real fan of this lens on that body for bird work. With it is going to go a Nikon 1.4 times teleconverter. That gets us out to 420mm f5.6 equivalent on a full frame body, 630 on the D500. So plenty of reach for birds. With the D810, my standard lens for that is the 24 to 120 f4. That works for most landscape situations. If we need wider, I've got the 18 to 35. It's a lovely light lens, very sharp, works beautifully. So there we've got landscapes covered, we've got birds covered. The other thing that's going with, just because I love it, is my 10.5 fisheye for the D500, so that'll give us some chance to get some good forest pictures because we will be in amongst the beech forest. So that's that side of the bag, all the camera gear. Now, a few more camera options this side are filters. I'll be taking a circular polarizer for landscape work. I have a 3-stop neutral density as well as a 10-stop neutral density. So all of those will be 77mm diameter. They fit on the 24 to 120. Chargers, as I said, one charger for both Nikon bodies. So we have one charger for the Nikon, one charger for the Fuji, all in a little pouch. These pouches I've got over the years with low pro bags and they're really useful for putting together charging gear. The other thing that's going this time is the DJI Mavic Pro. I'm going to take the drone down and explore some aerial photography. So that fits nicely in the camera bag inside this little pouch. Along with that we have the controller and 2 spare batteries wrapped up in a beanie. So that's enough for us to have about an hour and a half of flight time if we need it. Charging gear for the Mavic, also in another little bag. basically got the charger that'll charge the flight batteries and the remote. So all of that goes into the bag. What else we have is a rain jacket. Something that I won't be taking this time, but I often would take on a slightly longer trip, is the Western Digital My Passport Wireless Pro. You can use this to back up SD cards very simply. Works well with the app on the iPad. This is my old iPad Air that I've had forever and a day. That goes with for keeping in touch with emails and reading on the plane. If I'm going off on a longer expedition, usually with Eden's with me or with families on a trip, we'll take a MacBook Air along with 3 hard drives, so we've got 3 copies of all images and can clean off our cards every day. For this trip it's going to just be a few days, so really both of my bodies I run 128 gigabyte cards. The D500 has 2 128 cards in it, so it basically is backing up as we shoot. And the D810 is not going to be doing a huge amount of work, so I've got a 32 gig compact flash card and a 128 SD card, so the flash card will back up onto the SD card, so I'll have 2 copies of images. In terms of security, this bag doesn't leave my sight. While I'm travelling over the next week, it will be with me everywhere I go. It won't be left in a vehicle or a room anywhere. If we're in a cafe, it's sitting on the floor next to me with my leg through the strap, so I'm not concerned about it being taken from me, so I don't need to keep an off-site backup. If we're travelling longer distances further away, we have our 3 hard drives. One will be in a bag, I'll have one on me, Eden will have one on her, so we have 3 separate copies of our files everywhere we go. But in this case, a very short local trip, it's going to be stored on the cards in the camera, 2 copies of each file in each camera, and I won't be backing things up in the field. One other thing I've forgotten, tripod's going with. This doesn't go in my bag, it goes into the checked luggage, packed into a barrel bag between clothing cells, so that's well padded, and that's useful for the landscape work. The ND filters that I've packed in there would be useless without this, so it has to go with. I've been using this flat Benro tripod for a number of years and been really impressed with it. It's compact, but it's solid, it's stable, it supports the D810 beautifully for long exposures, and it's all I need for travel work. Up until recently, to do a trip like this entire half of the bag would have been taken up by a 500 f4 lens. This time the 300 f4 and the D500 is going to take its place, so I'm really interested to see how we go with that. On the trials I've been doing with it, I don't see that I'll be missing the 500 f4, and for flying it makes it a whole heap easier to leave it at home. Hopefully that's been of interest. Hopefully I'll be able to get the pictures that I've got in mind, and we may have something to share with you when I'm back home. See you next time. Cheers.